this is One Leeds. Welcome back to the latest video. This video, as always, is sponsored by Shop GNO, The Job Match Group, and Match Bingo. Let's get into it. First up, the Job Match Group. Whether you're looking for your next big gig or just browsing, the Job Match Group has niche job sites made just for you. F1, retail, security, and loads more. They're about matching the right person to the right job. Make sure you check them out if you're ready to level up your career. Then we've got Shop GNO, an exciting new e-commerce site where you can grab exclusive deals and discounts. Right now, One Leeds has an affiliate link just below where you can score a 25 quid membership for free, unlocking special rates and benefits. You can even list your own shop on there with way better rates than Amazon, eBay, and Vinted. They've got some Leeds bits and some general bits now and launching soon, plus some great prizes just for signing up. This is all powered by a massive Leeds United fan looking to make waves in the online shopping world. So check them out and support your local. And don't forget our mates at Match Bingo. They're smashing it with footy fun. You can get 5 bingo cards for the price of 4 through One Leeds, and you can even deposit just a £5 at a time to join the action. It's a big chance to win whilst having a blast with your fellow Leeds United friends. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Check the links in the description, and let's get on with the video. Well, hello, you lovely lot. I hope you're all doing fantastically well. My name is Conor McGilligan. This is One Leeds, and of course, this is the Rumour Mill. What is going on in your world? Let us know in the comment section below. It's a bit early, isn't it? It's a bit early. What on earth are we doing here at this fine hour? Or to be fair, if you're a Kiwi, if you're an Aussie, and I know there are a lot of you who watch, this could be absolutely perfect for you. So brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I know sometimes these hit a little bit differently for other people on different sides of this beautiful planet. So listen, what's going on, everybody? We are still amidst an international break. And let me just talk to you a little bit what happens in the international break. People, they're not bothered about Leeds United. They drift off. They don't care. So listen, any form of engagement, interaction, any form of like, comment, let me know your thoughts in the section below, of course. Really, really helps the channel when it comes to the algorithm, the changes which are coming constantly with YouTube, and of course, still keeping us up there. So thank you so much. Really appreciate that, everybody. Now, today we're going to be speaking about injuries. We're going to be speaking about January targets, which feel like are still rumbling on in the background, no matter what the club says. And of course, we're going to be speaking a tiny little bit about what to expect at Fulham, of course. So do us a favour, everybody. Let's slap a like on the video. Matteo Gasparotti says, afternoon from Perth. Connor, hi, mate. How's it going? You just know people will complain he's early. This is it, Remy. Just can't win. Early bird catches the worm, indeed, mate. Benno's in here. How you, Benno? How's it going, mate? Yes. Lads, good morning from sunny Osset. Bring us some good news, eh? Steve's in here as well. Leeds fan. Nice and early, says MJ Gaming as well. Paul's here as well. Yeah, it's a bit different, this, isn't it? It's a bit different. Listen, I've got a shoot. I've got 2 shoots today, of which one I'm hosting and one I'm featuring on. So it's a very, very busy day. So I should have pre-recorded this, but I thought, do you know what? The One Leaders like their lives. They like the discourse, debate, and discussion, and you can't do that on pre-record. So I thought, I'm going to do the live, and I'm going to then get an Uber into town. It's going to cost me an absolute arm and a leg, but it is what it is. Nice says, morning, gone, hiya, mate. Oakbridge Consulting is here a little bit. White Snake's in the house. How are you going, mate? How's it going? Leeds fan says you're a little out of sync, Connor. It should catch up, mate. It should normally catch up. Everything's green. Everything's perfect on the internet and the frameage. So should catch up with me, hopefully. Mornings from Agassi. Hello. Hi, Darren. Right, okay, let's start off with our Tanaka, shall we, everybody? Let me just check on the old volume. Should be all right. Yep, sounds beautiful. Right, okay, so we'll start with Al Tanaka, everybody. Now, what's going on? So Farke confirmed that he was suffering with an MCL, and he was talking about, well, it was in quotation marks, it being a few weeks, which a lot of Leeds fans' toes curled up at. Now, the timelines, when they aligned, really, basically, when you're having a look at Al Tanaka, it was Fulham. Fulham was the earliest point of which Al Tanaka could be available, obviously, on the 13th of September. Now, I still think that this is a little bit unrealistic, and we will find out from Daniel Farke very soon, but I still think this is a little bit unrealistic. There was conversation about it being maybe the Wolverhampton Wanderers game. We're going to get into a little bit why this might be a slight problem for Leeds United, but the earliest date, according to few sources, are that it could be the game at the weekend, but I think what Farke will want is they'll want an absolute fit and healthy and firing out Tanaka, someone who is the metronome in that midfield, someone who is so important for Leeds United right now and is so especially with like us not having an 8 and a 10 now. I think Tanaka, in terms of being able to, move the ball like Tanaka can move the ball in that midfield space and that advanced midfield space as well, if the onus is put on him. It's so important now more than ever that Leeds United are able to galvanise and get the absolute best out of him. We have players who can pick the ball up in the number 6 role. We don't have many players like that who are able to, bring the ball forward, really good on the half turn, excellent on the ball in tight spaces. And Tanaka's going to be big now. If Leeds are still to work on that 4-3-3 formation, I can't really see, or he shouldn't really be at the base of that midfield, because I still think, I've spoken overall about Stack being Leeds' best midfielder, and I think that comprises multiple different facets when you're talking about that central player. But I think on the ball, in terms of being maybe a little bit more of a creative as well, being able to see a pass, I think Tanaka is still the best at the football club. I think Stack is a little bit better when it comes to box. I think he's more of an enforcer, more of a ball driver. But I think in terms of someone getting the ball and being able to pick a pass, someone being able to split the lines a little bit, I think it is Tanaka. So I think getting him back is crucially important. We were just speaking last night on the hard line. If you guys didn't catch it. I'd make sure you do go catch it from last night. Interesting when it comes to the level of which me and Gabe were speaking about the importance of going forward with Leeds United. What is going to be the crucial game that maybe Daniel Farke and just Leeds United and co are looking at in terms of the most important game? I think it is going to be that Wolves game. That Wolves game is so important. They've got to be targeting away wins as well as home wins, of course, to stay up in the Premier League this season. If you're trying to hit that 40-point mark, you can't just be getting home wins. It's got to be away wins as well. I think Wolves has got to be a target. I think West Ham has got to be a target. Brentford's got to be a target. Is Fulham maybe a little bit out of our reach? I don't think it is. I think Leeds can get something from Fulham, but maybe he's going to manage Tanaka a little bit more. Manage Tanaka so he's going to be fit and firing for that Wolverhampton Wanderers game. Kyle's in the building. Hi, Kyle. How's it going, mate? Darren's here as well. I'm happy already matched on together. Jay says, morning, Connor. Make sure you smash the like for this top lad. Thank you so much there, Jay. Hope you're good this morning, buddy. Dan Tuema says, regarding players, I struggle with the fact that the club took for granted that we'll be able to sell. I had a concern wouldn't be able to sell Bamford, Brendan, and of course, Melier. Jem says, good morning, Connor, and everyone. Hi, Jem, how's it going? Remy says, Al makes and puts others in more space and time, of course. Dr. Pepper Mover, great name there, pal. Cheers to the updates, mate. Love from Melbourne. What a place. What a place. One of my absolute favourites. Now, moving on to not great news. Now, the Bulgarian coach, listen to this. What a name. The Bulgarian coach, Elia. A little bit like Neville. Remember Gary's dad? Neville, what a name. But Elia, the Bulgarian coach, has said that apparently Gruev just did the Lampard then, didn't he? You know what I mean? Happy to serious. Said that Gruev played with an injury for Bulgaria in their 3-0 win over loss over Spain. And he said that there were consequences that he played for Bulgaria with problems. This did annoy me a little bit because it's like, well, why are you playing Gruev if he's got problems? And, a lot of you guys will say, Connor, you're not a fan of Gruev anyway. I don't mind Gruev. I just think we have better midfielders than Elia. But the consequences are that he played with problems, said the Bulgarian manager the other night. So apparently Gruev has played with an injury for Bulgaria, and there is a little bit of concern around his availability for the weekend behind the scenes, which really throws up a bit of a conundrum for Leeds, doesn't it? I mean, the updated Leeds injury list is Tanaka. Looks like he's going to be out, I think, for this Wolves game. It's an MCL again. I don't think Farke will risk him for this. I think he'll be fit and firing for Wolverhampton Wanderers, as we just spoke about. Ampadu, MCL, doubt, but he's apparently a little bit further on in terms of his availability than Tanaka. So that would say to you that he's going to be available, hopefully, for the Fulham game. Rodon, concussed. Apparently he's back with Leeds United now. He's obviously going to be fine for Leeds United's game against Fulham. Apparently it was concussion protocol that he came back and didn't feature again for Wales. Okafor had a groin injury. He should be back for this one. And Goodmanson obviously took a knock as well. Didn't he? Took a bit of a bash in that Newcastle game. He should be back for this one as well. But it is interesting when it comes to... It is interesting when it comes down to Gruev. Now, what Leeds United are going to be able to do in that midfield, I think if we can just get the custom lineup up here, I think what Leeds have to do is really have an Ampadu back. We're talking about a number 6 as well. I do think Leeds will still progress with the I do think Leeds United will still progress with the 3 in midfield. I know there's a lot of people who said that might not happen, but ideally, I think this is probably what you're looking at for the Fulham game. If we're talking about the realistic people being fit, and let me know in the comment section below if you agree or disagree with this, everybody. This is kind of what I'd like to see. Probably now with the injury record, if Ampadu is to come back, fill that Gruev void, obviously he would go central. Stack would probably be wide on that midfield 3, but that's probably what we're looking at right now. Albeit, I do wonder whether or not Biol even starts this game. We know that Daniel Farke seems to prefer Pascal Struijk, so this is probably the likelihood of what you'd see there. So Bogle, Road on Struijk, Goodmanson, Ampadu, Stack, Longstaff, Nonso, DCL, and of course, Noah Okafor. Benno says these World Cup qualifiers are coming thick and fast. Another one in just 3 weeks. I know, mate. I know. In a sense, it gives them a break. You know, if there's a point of which we're struggling in the Premier League, which I think there are going to be points of which it probably is a well-needed break for certain personnel, especially if we've suffered with injuries, which we have at the very beginning of the window. But if this is happening again, the international break can be a nice mover. But if you've been able to build up some consistency in our next 3, we've got winnable games. If you're able to build consistency, you really don't want that international break to come round. However, you know, after those 3 games, we've then got a bill of very, very tough Premier League games, so maybe you do. Connor, any rumours regarding the set-piece coach? Just that it's happening, mate. Just that it's happening, which is interesting in itself, isn't it? Matteo says, Connor, what's the likelihood that we go out and get a free agent? Yeah, we'll talk about that in a sec, mate. The main thing you should be managing is a championship club. Iman says, we need more academy lads with talent. Definitely. Yeah, that would be nice. Scott says, what in the before 10 a.m. is this nonsense? Good morning. Nice, Scott. How's it going, mate? How's everything down the road? Jay says, that would be my start 11, but Farke starts Pascal instead of Biol. Brad says, morning, Connor. Is Tanaka not going to be fit for Fulham? It doesn't look like it, mate. It doesn't look like it. It looks like it. I mean, Farke might be able to update us and say something different, but he did say that it was going to be a fair few weeks. Last time out, obviously speaking about Tanaka around about a week ago. So my timeline attest to that maybe not being for the Fulham game. I think they've got to be careful with him as well. They've got to be really, really careful with him. You don't want to rush Tanaka back in because right now, as I've mentioned, if they're in that midfield 3, an 8, a 10, he sort of fills that void, doesn't he now? If you're able to push him up and maybe use Stack and Ampadu and Gruev and obviously Longstaff as those sort of mediators behind Tanaka, I would like to see him press forward a little bit more in a 3. If that can happen, then, you know, he's obviously going to be that innovative guy that we kind of look to really in that midfield with us missing out on an 8. On an 8 in there. Angus says, so everyone was saying we're stacked in mid and don't really need any additions. Now we have 3 injuries. Is Ampadu even fit? It doesn't look like Ampadu's fit, mate. Doesn't look like Ampadu's fit. Jem says, but he could be for this one. But as of right now, as of talking, he is not fit now. So we'll have to wait and see. Connor, is Ampadu not fit or not risked or a change of formation to a 4-2-3-1? Well, I think if we're looking at it, and we can just move this around a little bit, I think it gets the best out of everybody else. So if you go to a 4-2-3-1, I always think it relies a little bit more on an 8 and a 10. But if we just move a few bits around here, Noah Okafor on the left, DCL up top. If Ampadu, let's say worst case scenario, isn't fit, I think if you go to a 4-2-3-1, you have to do this. And I don't know if people would want this, but I think you'd have to do this in a 4-2-3-1 if Ampadu wasn't fit. And this is a big likelihood, isn't it? It's a big likelihood. So, yeah, the Bulgarian coach basically confirming that Gruev has played with an injury and the consequences, he's word verbatim, the consequences are that he played with injury problems. So, not looking good for a live Gruev, but we'll have to wait and see what Daniel Farke says about that. So, morning, Connor. You early? I am indeed, mate. I am indeed. Right, okay, we're going to move on to an interesting profile of which I want to get your guys' thoughts on this one, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of thoughts in the comment section below about this. Leeds obviously struggling at this moment in time when it comes to a player of which will fill the void when it comes to a 8, which obviously we've been speaking about when it comes to Hamer, potentially when it comes to Buendia, etc., etc. This could be the player that Leeds United land on. Now, there apparently is interest from Leeds United, there is apparently interest from West Ham United, and there is apparently interest from Aston Villa as well. Now, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain has been around the circuit for a long time now, and believe it or not, everybody, he still is only 32 years of age, which I could not believe. But it looks like at this moment in time, Chamberlain has a decent level of interest. There is a few Premier League clubs after him. I've just mentioned Aston Villa there. I've just mentioned West Ham United as well there. I think the fascinating thing about this is it looks like he's actually going to get a Premier League move. And is that Leeds United, West Ham United, Aston Villa panicking a little bit? I don't know. We'll just get his profile up here. But it is one of those where you kind of look round and look, guys, we are going to get into his injury status as well, which I think is going to surprise a few of you in terms of like the magnitude of games he's missed. So I like Ox. I've always liked Ox. I think his time at Liverpool was unbelievable. Really, really good. I know he didn't get a lot of minutes. I know Liverpool fans will question his fitness, but his explosiveness, some of his outrageous goals as well from that central space, his shot efficiency, which I always go on about, but I always see him as a powerful player as well, someone who's good on the half turn. But he is 32 years of age. He struggled with injuries, really, and you can see he's the number 0 there because he hasn't got a club. Besiktas paid 1.75 million euros to effectively buy him out of his contract. Now, broadlists right now, national broadlists have Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain as one of the best free agents out there, along with Christian Eriksen. And there is a few clubs obviously looking at him. Leeds United have been mentioned in that bracket as well. Now, I've said this previously as well. I think there has to be durability. There has to be dependability. There has to be reliability with the free agent coming in. I've mentioned before Christian Eriksen. I would like Christian Eriksen a little bit because I think Eriksen provides something when it comes to that in the pocket. I still think there's a good level of fitness there with Eriksen. He's only just turned 33. I would also say as well he's a set-piece threat. You know, his set pieces have always been absolutely divine when it comes to just general efficiency / output. So I would like Christian Eriksen. I think that'd be a really good deal. The problem is when he was at Manchester United, he was on 150 grand a week, and he's always been on a heck of a lot of money. Would Leeds United realistically go for that? Wouldn't be great when it comes to PSI. You kind of need to move on to realistic targets. But what we do know about Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain is there was conversation, talk around him being on about 65 grand a week, sterling at Besiktas. So that would be a little bit more achievable, of course. Now, the issue with me with someone like him is, I mean, there's just a host of injuries even in the last 2 years. Thigh tear, knee issues, MCL. He's missed 150 days in 2 years for Besiktas. So, look, a massive fan of Oxlade. I think when he's played, I've always been a huge fan of him since his Arsenal days, but I loved him at Liverpool because he didn't play much, but when he did come on the pitch, I thought he was almost symptomatic of Jurgen Klopp's rock and roll football. I thought he was a really good presser. I thought he was vivacious. I thought he was very energetic. I thought on the ball in those, as I mentioned previously, on those half turns in those pockets, he was very effective. I still do think he can be used at Premier League level. I think there's got to be like a robustness with his game though, which he doesn't have right now. I think he would be used as sustenance. I think he'd be a bench option. How much could you spend? How much could you spend on someone like Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain when it comes to a contract? How much would he take for PSR issues? Leeds would simply have to have him on like a 6 to 12 monther. And yeah, I think what, 50 grand a week or whatever it may be would fit into PSR restrictions. However, are Leeds going to really do that, or are they going to focus a little bit more on the January market? Have to wait and see. Yeah, Eriksen over Ox for me. Michael says, Connor, do you trust the recruitment team for the next window or even doing the free agent search? Why not get rid of those that have underperformed? It's a good question, Michael. It's a really good question. What I'd say about to that is after the window, I do trust them to a certain extent. I just think it wasn't a great look at the end, mate, was it? It wasn't a great look at the end, scrambling round for three-ish players. AD says, I'd take Eriksen. Keep it real. Morning, Connor. Hope you're doing fantastically well. And how is everybody this fine Monday morning? Good to see you in here, pal. Plenty of loans still out there in Europe. To fill a hole with less risk. Love says, was a skillful, fast tank. Not sure if he's that anymore. I think that's it, Loaf. I guess it's those fast twitch fibers, isn't it? Those fast twitch fibers that expire after a certain point in your life. I can tell you that. Believe it or not, I used to be exceptionally quick. And if I went for a 100-meter run now, don't think I'd be anywhere near as quick. So obviously that is encompassing beer and fitness and everything else as well. But of course, your fast twitch fibers, they're a lot more engaged when you're a little bit younger and you're practicing, you're stretching, and you're fitter, and sports science is working in your favour. But yeah, Oxlade-Chamberlain in that space for Liverpool in around 27-ish. I think he was so explosive. Does he have that anymore? Injuries would tell you not. Heavy metal football, you mean not rock and roll? Same thing, mate. Same thing. But yeah, heavy metal football. They used to love that, didn't he? Old Klopp. Right, okay, let's move on, everybody, to the next conversation of which I wanted to speak about last night. and this morning, really. I mean, I spoke about this in a sense, when it's come to this man's availability. So I'm going to touch on Nico O'Reilly. Now, incredibly, this guy wasn't picked up. Now, there's conversations about Nico O'Reilly effectively been up for loan in this window, and I don't know if something went on at City. Nico O'Reilly is someone who about a year ago we were speaking about on the channel. Obviously, not had that first team experience that you've seen for City now in games like Wolves and other games like that where he performed really well. Obviously, he's performed in the Cup as well, hasn't he, for City? But I think Nico O'Reilly would be a really decent addition for Leeds United. Now, why this could be likely in January is because you can spread it PSR-wise pretty effectively, especially maybe if there's a loan to option. City will offload players who are not playing regularly, and multiple sources are suggesting that Leeds United are tracking the 20-year-old for a January investment. So loan from the City side is very likely as well in January, if you're to believe the blue side of Manchester when it comes to getting him experience and minutes. Apparently the right offer just didn't come forward for Manchester City, and then of course subsequently Nico O'Reilly in this window. Whether or not City were even thinking to themselves, yeah, we'll let him go out, because obviously they let McAtee go, didn't they? They've been very cautious with letting James McAtee go for a permanent, obviously, over the past however many years. Maybe they're in the same bracket with Nico O'Reilly as well. What stands out with Nico is his strong dead ball delivery, his height. I think, once again, very good on the half turn, creative, very much of an innovator, but he's very versatile as well. Can play left back, can play on the left side of a midfield three, can play on the left-hand side of a front three as well, which obviously fits into Leeds United's 4-3-3 predicament. But for me, the best part of him is in that 10, that number 8. There's multiple sources in the last, really, week linking Leeds with Nico O'Reilly. Is it frustrating right now? Of course it is, because we're just out of that window. But for the January period, it makes sense as well from a PSR angle. I'd suggest that it would be a loan, an option that spreads cost as well. But where people will say, Connor, we can't afford it because of PSR. I think we can. This is probably one that we can afford when it comes to the PSR slant as well. There is that leverage with Leeds United when it comes to that 7 to 10 million that apparently we were willing to bid for Harry Wilson, if you are to believe certain reports. So if we were willing to spend that much on Harry Wilson, or we were willing to, spend that much on a loan when it comes to Emi Buendia, you would expect that there is money in the coffers when it comes to a PSR stance for someone like Nico O'Reilly, especially if Leeds United are on the premise that they will maybe sell in January as well, especially if we're on the premise of maybe getting that in order right now for January, which you would hope Leeds United are doing in the background. And there's rumours from the City side as well that they want a domestic loan. Maybe that is very similar to Brighton and Buonanotte. Maybe that is why it didn't quite happen for Nico when it comes to a loan, because there was Lyon interested, there was Dortmund interested, very similar to that of Buonanotte as well. So it feels like there's certain players who have a certain criteria of which the same clubs look at. Lyon, Dortmund, Nico O'Reilly. James McAtee was another one, wasn't he? And then, of course, they got Buonanotte. Maybe Leeds United are going on the same slant as well when it comes to Buonanotte and Nico O'Reilly. We'll have to wait and see. But, if City opened the door for me, a structured loan makes it very, very PSR-friendly for Leeds United, especially with the money that we still do have. We're not completely skint, and there's ways to work around this. PSR isn't just a limit of which you can't make your way around. Okay. Morning, Connor. Good to catch alive again. Thanks, Pete. Good to see you in here, mate. Lazy says, morning, Connor. The Ox is a beast, like Traore. Nico O'Reilly would be class. Luke says, tracking. Fascinated, interested by. Morning, Connor. In work, listen to you when I can. Good lad, Gary. Thanks, mate. Nico O'Reilly will be quality. However, yeah, here we go, Jay. After reading Evan's Q&A, I doubt we will do anything in the January window unless we are in deep trouble. For me, Jay, I think it's very dependent. I wouldn't take what he said as word verbatim as well, but I think it is very dependent on Leeds United's standpoint. I think as a Leeds United's position, I should say, if Leeds United, if we're in a very tricky predicament, I mean, do you want to be going out and getting Nico O'Reilly if you're in a really tricky predicament? Probably not, because he's a kid and he just needs experience. If Leeds are pre-planning right now for a Nico O'Reilly to come in just because they're able to do that, that's great. But Leeds, I guess, have to have planning in place for multiple scenarios, multiple scenarios in January. And I just can't believe, and I won't believe, that won't be something that they'll exercise in the January window, whether or not there's because there's ways around it. There is ways around PSR. We've all become accountants in the last 2 or 3 years, but doing this channel, the limit that Leeds United are at, we've gone over this in multiple videos before. There are ways around that. Multiple ways around that. So, and the obvious one just being player sales, and being able to get that PSR stretch from that, or even loans, of which you get PSR beneficiary from that as well. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But I think Nico O'Reilly will be a really, really nice addition right now. The predicament that we're in right now. So look, I don't have the stomach to even think about another transfer window yet. DCL couldn't hit an open net. Don't kid yourself. Okay. Missed the early start, says Roscoe. Apologies, bud. It's just happening this morning. Let's get on to Harry Wilson as well. An interesting bit of discourse this morning when it comes to Wilson, of which might interest you guys. So we'll just get his stats up again, because we have to look at this. The visuals are ever present and very important, I think, on this channel when we're able to look at a player. I just love the visuals, being able to see what a player's done in said league, etc., etc. So we'll look at Harry Wilson here. So what do we know? Leeds agreed a deal with Fulham, apparently. According to the Leeds side, we agreed a deal. From the Fulham side, they said that there was never a deal in place. Leeds United agreed. A file sheet was submitted for then, obviously, the latter 2 hours for Fulham and Leeds to hash out an agreement. Fulham said it didn't go that far, and the reason behind that from a Fulham standpoint is because they'd agreed a deal for Kevin, the winger, Chukwueze, the winger, but then from around about 6 p.m, Tyreek George all fell through the transfer from Chelsea to Fulham for 22 million quid. So the Harry Wilson deal was never as far on as Leeds United like to say it was. But according to a few sources this morning, Harry Wilson would be very, very interested in the Leeds United move. We are pretty much Wales FC anyway, aren't we? And I think, listen, Harry Wilson would be a lovely move for Leeds United. I like him on that right-hand side. I like him in that 10. Yeah, I think his technical ability is good. He's very, very good on set pieces as well. I think that's really important. Now, will Stack still be on set pieces at this point? I have absolutely no idea. I think that hopefully is going to come to an end very soon, but you can't. I mean, I've been very, very sort of... I've been very here and there with it, but I've said, look, get Gabby Goodmanson on set pieces. Presumably, there is a reason Gabby Goodmanson isn't taking set pieces. That's what I would suggest. Otherwise, I think Leeds would have explored that a little bit more. Anton Stack very much picks up that Declan Rice mould of being a tall player who can deliver the ball into the box. What I would say is I think Rice is better when it comes to ball connection than Anton Stack. So it feels like right now it is square pegs, round holes. It would be very, very nice to see someone coming in who can be a threat from that place. And that's why we spoke about Nico O'Reilly this morning. We spoke about Harry Wilson. We spoke about Gus Hamer and Buendia before, because they are set-piece threats as well. That marginal gain is massive. There's one thing that really bugs me, guys, when it comes to this. Set pieces there's no point anyway. Leeds would have focused on it anyway. Well, they should have done. Set pieces are so important. You get players in there and you get, good ball connectors who are putting the ball into the box and are able to do that on a consistent level. You've had so many clubs who've been threatened by relegation over the years, been getting those incremental marginal gains from being able to score from set pieces. For me, it's so important. So I see that as being wide open when it comes to set-piece specialists. I see that as something that Leeds United can explore in the window for very, very affordable prices as well. Would they be able to do something with Harry Wilson? Obviously, his contract is winding down. We're all very, very aware of that. It expires very soon as well. Would Fulham be open to more of a deal then? Apparently, Harry Wilson would welcome the move as well. He's going to be down the pecking order. Rumours are stating as well that Fulham are going to go in for Tyreek George again in January, which might open the door for Leeds United. Again, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Totally agree with you, pal. Just seeing the business we've done the last 2 January windows doesn't feel they might have to do, Jay. They might have to do, pal. Morning, Connor. Hey, pal. How's it going? Daniel says, unfortunately, I believe Fulham, as Leeds, have lost all credibility with me at the moment. Where would O'Reilly place his MJ? Anywhere. But centrally, I'd want him, mate. Essentially, I'd want him. And it means we can fluctuate as well from a 4-2-3-1, which I do feel Farke wants to play, as opposed to a 4-3-3. I feel at this moment in time, Leeds might be forced into playing a 4-3-3, but I feel like he would like to fluctuate between the two, and hopefully that would show an adequate degree of pragmatism as well. Guys, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate that. Let us know what you think in the comment section below after the video. Any comments really help us on the algorithm as well, but I do read all the comments, so thank you so much for your ongoing support. Interaction, engagement is always fantastic on the channel. We're going to be back tomorrow with hopefully White Noise with Brownie. We'll have another Room Mill in the morning as well on the second channel. We've got bits with Callum Fowler and Ben and Matt tomorrow as well. If you're not checking that out, check it out over there. We've hit 8,000 subscribers over there, which was mental and fantastic news. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that, everybody. Do us a favour, as I've just mentioned, let us know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. My name's Conor McGilligan. This is One Leeds, and this is the Room Mill. Catch you on the other side.